All right, so I just want to make a really quick Hardy-Weinberg video here. So we're looking at a population here, okay? And let's just kind of just take a look at what we're even looking at. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so we have eight. We have 8 members of this population. Okay. And what exactly are they giving us here? Well, they're giving us the physical manifestation of what these are. So they're giving us what's called a phenotype. And you can remember phenotype as just meaning physical, right? Phenotype is like hair color. Now, genotype is the actual alleles that these organisms have. So they're diploid organisms, so they have 2 alleles. Now, can we tell what alleles these actually are? Well, let's look at this for a second. What alleles do we have? Well, we have our dominant, which we're going to assign an uppercase G, and that is going to code for a green color. And then we have our recessive, which is a lowercase g, and that's going to code for brown. But the thing is, and as we know with alleles, is that there's 2 ways to be green. You can either be what's called homozygous dominant and code for green, or you can be heterozygous dominant and kind of carry that recessive brown gene, but you're still going to have green hair. So we don't know what any of these are. We don't know. They could be homozygous or they could be heterozygous. However, the only way to get brown hair is if you are homozygous recessive. So we can go ahead and just assign these. So now we have what's called a genotype, which is the actual alleles, the actual, when you look at the chromosome, when you look at what's called the locus or the loci, that's the genes that these organisms have, okay? All right, so now enter what's called the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, which, if I can remember, is p squared plus 2pq plus q squared. And the reason we use this 2pq is because these are diploid organisms, and you have to double it by 2, more or less. So remember, p, since it's the first one, is the dominant. P is our dominant, and q is our recessive. Okay. So what we're given here is we actually kind of have our recessive here. Of our 8 population, 2 of our 8, or 1/4, or 25%, right? 2/8, 1/4, 0.25. This is actually going to be our Q2, our amount of recessive, okay? That's going to be our Q squared. So if we want to find what our Q is, we want to take the square root of that. Which is a half. I guess I could have done that math in my head. So our Q is going to equal 0.5. Here's the thing, though, is that P and Q always have to equal 1. So if Q is 0.5, well, P is also 0.5. And what we're actually finding here is our percentage, so it's 50% our percentage of recessive alleles and our percentage of dominant alleles. So what I believe this means is our Gs can be found in 50% of our population, and our recessives can be found in 50% of our population here, okay? This is going to be set to 1. So to find our 2 PQ, well, 2 times 0.5 times 0.5, actually I believe is 0.5. So 2 PQ. And the 0.5 is our heterozygous number. This is just something we kind of have to memorize, is that the 2 PQ is our heterozygous number. In other words, our percentage of G alleles is 50%. So if we need to know what and we already found we already know what this is, because remember when we did this is our 50%, our Q squared, our amount of recessives, we already know is a quarter. It's 2 out of 8. So that would be 25%, which goes to show us that our homozygous dominant is simply the remaining 25%. So of these phenotypes that are green, right, you could say, well, I think it's of the whole population, but basically half of them, 50%, are going to be this, 25% are going to be this. That's not 100%, but it's of the entire population of all of these. You could say, well, half of them are going to be GG, which is going to be 4. And 25% of them are going to be big G. So this is our answer here. Let's check from the lecture. So she is asking us, we have 8 individuals. So the other thing you have to remember too is that there's 16 alleles, which makes sense. Each letter here is an allele. So there's 16 alleles, 8 in our pop, 16 alleles. Q is she's saying Q squared is 0.25. Yep. So Q equals 0.5. Yep. P equals 0.5. Yeah. That's all. It's like all she did. Okay, then they're going to find frequencies. Big G is 0.25. Yep. Little g is 0.25. And big G, little g is 50%. P is 0.5. Yep. So that's correct. So there you go. There is a simple Hardy-Weinberg equation.